Hey, Maddie.
How are you?
Good. You?
Good.
Yeah.
I'm making you a co-host quick. Oh, we have Jamie and Carrie, which is great.
Yeah. Definitely.
Hi, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
Hi
Welcome.
there.
Hey, Carrie. So impressive that you come from work. How have you been, Jamie?
Busy but good.
You been
Yeah,
good?
yeah.
Busy with anything that you want to share? Any good stuff or hard stuff?
No, no. Busy with Andrew and his medical. Busy running food clinics at work.
Mm.
And I just finished a cancer fundraiser this last Saturday for my daughter's 20-year-old boyfriend that has Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah. So I'm
Oh,
like, okay, no more for a little while.
wow. I
Yeah,
know. Isn't that how it is? It's
yeah,
like it's like could we get a pause here
yeah, yeah,
on
exactly.
the
Sure.
crazy wild stuff that life sends our way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Well,
old is he? Did you say
Greg is 20. Yeah.
my dad had that non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at 20 as well? It's
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's
the funny thing is, so did my dad. So it's really funny that my daughter is with
oh,
somebody who has it as well. So kind of
mhm.
wow.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy. How is he doing?
he's doing pretty good. He's getting treatment because of how severe the treatment is or how harsh it is. He does treatment every other week, and he's almost to his halfway mark. So
Wow.
it's looking pretty good, but his white count is non-existent at this point.
Mhm.
Mm,
But
mm.
Is like the hard part, just to like stay sick.
yeah, I'm like, really? We're heading into flu and cold and yucky season with no immune system. All right. Well,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah.
We'll keep him in our prayers for sure.
I will. Thank you.
Hi, Phyllis. You're on mute, dear.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. Good to see you.
Got my swim in.
Nice. Well done. Exercise and self-care is one of your values. Woohoo. Beautiful. I got my hike in. So that was wonderful. It's the first day up here that it's not. I mean, it's going to be like 85, but it's been like 95, 100 degrees. It's in Northern California in October. Like, but it was really pleasant. It was probably about 60, 62. It's the perfect temperature for walking. Anything else anyone wants to say? Harry, you want to chime in on anything? Yeah, Mother Nature just wanted us to enjoy summer a little longer here in Northern California. Yeah, like very, very summery. And anyway, I mean, we're blessed. We're not in Florida.
Yeah, jeez.
I know. I'm going to Florida on Saturday.
So I was there this weekend and I'm glad I got out.
Mm.
Yeah, it's so awful where we used to have like a house. It's like totally ruined. It's so awful. The like small local businesses and then they're coming back with like a vengeance. I'm just like, can they get a break, please?
Yeah. Mother Nature is not happy with us, I would say. That's what it seems to me.
Treasure Island, they told him, don't stay here. You will die.
Oh gosh.
They're
Mm.
being hit directly, and there will be no firemen and no first responders.
I know. they said there's some very, like less than 10%, because everything's tapped out and FEMA and all that. And Carrie is saying, yeah, that already she had friends who've lost things in Hurricane Helene and now in Milton. So let's just hope this one decides to blow somewhere else,
Back to the water.
back to the
This
water.
is why I come here to this meeting, so that I can be reminded to pray for them and to appreciate what we have. Thank you, Padma and Patty
Yeah, I think we just have
and
to.
girlfriends,
Yeah.
Jamie and Carrie. We're
So
blessed.
we are blessed. So, Maddie, do you want to post the description, please? Thank you. Today we're going to talk about values, core values, and what are your core values, and how our core values help us to navigate life, and also how values might shift over time from when we were younger. Yeah, it's like, what is it that really matters? That's kind of what we were just saying, right? It's like, just be super grateful for what is, and the moments where kind of dreadful things are maybe not happening in your immediate reality or maybe in the world. But yeah, it's like, who are you and what do you stand for? So yeah, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And I wanted to read to you today. I haven't read anything in a while, but wanted to read from this book of prose by David Whyte, which is called Consolations. It says, the solace, nourishment, and underlying meaning of everyday words. He's a brilliant writer. If you don't know David Whyte, he's a really brilliant and really inspiring human being. And one of my values is honesty. So something about this passage, he takes these everyday words and he just writes a few pages of prose about them. So I'm going to read this to you, and then we'll meditate, and then we'll journal. So you're welcome to just relax and listen. It's not too long. Honesty. Phyllis, can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Honesty is reached through the doorway of grief and loss. Where we cannot go in our mind, our memory, or our body is where we cannot be straight with another, with the world, with ourself. The fear of loss in one form or another is the motivator behind all conscious and unconscious dishonesties. All of us are afraid of loss in all its forms. All of us at times are haunted or overwhelmed by the possibility of a disappearance. And all of us, therefore, are one short step away from dishonesty. Every human being dwells intimately close to a door of revelation they are afraid to pass through. Honesty lies in understanding our close and necessary relationship with not wanting to hear the truth. The ability to speak the truth is as much the ability to describe what it is like to stand in trepidation at this door as it is to actually go through it and become that beautifully honest spiritual warrior, equal to all circumstances we would like to become. Honesty is not the revealing of some foundational truth that gives us power over life or another or even the self, but a robust incarnation into the unknown, unfolding vulnerability of existence, where we acknowledge how powerless we feel, how little we actually know, how afraid we are of not knowing, and how astonished we are by the generous measure of loss that is conferred upon even the most average life. Honesty is grounded in humility and indeed in humiliation, and in admitting exactly where we are powerless. Honesty is not found in revealing the truth, but in understanding how deeply afraid of it we are. To become honest is, in effect, to become fully and robustly incarnated into powerlessness. Honesty allows us to live with not knowing. We do not know the full story. We do not know where we are in the story. We do not know who is at fault or who will carry the blame in the end. Honesty is not a weapon to keep loss and heartbreak at bay. Honesty is the outer diagnostic of our ability to come to ground in reality, the hardest attainable ground of all, the place where we actually dwell, the living, breathing frontier, where there is no realistic choice between gain or loss. That is David White reflecting on honesty. Okay. So let's just take a few minutes and meditate. So make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes. You can leave your camera on or off. It's entirely up to you. Take some breaths. Just allowing David White's words to continue to reverberate. Not something to understand or grasp, just something to let wash over you like a warm, gentle rain. Just feeling your breath and the beat of your heart. The breath and the heartbeat are things you can count on, at least for the time being. In this moment. Allowing the breath to support you to relax, to let go. Letting go of all the busyness, the responsibilities, the tasks, just for the time being. Let them go. Just letting your thoughts relax. Let them pass by. What if, just for right now, you let yourself relax into the open space? Just relaxing and letting go into the open space. In this open space, Just taking a little bit of time to contemplate your values. What are your core values? What is it that guides you in your life? Things like honesty, integrity, just see what's here for you. Maybe it's kindness, kindness toward yourself and others. Just notice what bubbles up. Taking some generous breaths. Very gently coming back. Taking out your journal. And then let's just reflect for a few minutes on whatever came up. little bit more time and then we'll come back together. Okay. Curious what came up in this inquiry about values or the passage I read from David White about honesty, or anything else that's happening for you. We have our topics and then we have what's happening in the moment. Anybody want to begin?
I feel like for me, my mind was just going in like a million directions with this meditation. And I feel like it almost just depends on like where we're at in life and like how we feel about these different things, you know? Because I just feel like my mind kept going if like different affirmations, but also like my values. And I feel like they just shift depending on where I'm at. And so it was just kind of like trying to go back in time and look at like maybe where I was. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's just trying to figure out like I feel like my values continually shift, you know? Like there's certain things in life where I value something at a certain time and place, and then that completely will shift because of just like situations and like things that were happening. But I just kept thinking about things that maybe used to be important to me. And yeah, and it was just like constantly shifting and just looking back and like how different things are depending on the situation we're in. But that's just kind of where my mind took me and was just going down that path of just like growth and change and priority shifting and, you know, where I feel safe and where I don't feel safe. And yeah, just it was kind of all over, but definitely it's amazing to look back and just see where you're at today and like I'm exactly where I'm at and where I need to be. And I feel like there's things and thoughts in my head for a reason, you know? So yeah, that was a little bit about what was going on in my head, all the craziness.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, also you're in your 30s, right? So you're learning what you actually stand for. And there are things that you do actually stand for. I mean, from my perspective, you definitely stand for kindness, right? I would say kindness is one of your values, and I would guess that it's been traveling with you over time. So things do change situationally, and some things just are with us, you know, like they come from our families, they come from our you know, religious affiliations. It's like, well, what is it that really tethers me to myself? You know, it's kind of like what's right, what's wrong, what's true at the deepest level. To me, it's the values are something that they might morph, they might get a little more honed, a little more refined, and they kind of stay with us. It's like if you're committed to kindness, I think you're just gonna be committed to being kind. And nobody I know is kind all the time, you know. We try, but we have our moments where we're not. So thank you. Phyllis?
I understand what you're saying, Maddie, because kindness and honesty. Okay, honesty.
Mm-hmm.
When my children were sick, so terribly sick, and then I didn't talk about it. When something I was supposed to do something or be someplace, I didn't tell them why I wasn't there. I didn't talk about my children. I wasn't honest. I had some other excuse because
Mm.
at the time, the honesty about their situation would mean that people would offer advice or ask questions.
Mhm.
So I was not honest.
Mhm.
So, Maddie, I understand what you're saying about changing circumstances affect your values. And I understand, Padma, what you're saying. Kindness is really a value that an emotional feeling that you just feel in your heart all the time. And that doesn't change. But the honesty thing, it changed. Now I value being honest about what happened with my children because it allows the opportunity to share and to talk and to listen. And then I was not in a position to listen about other people's problems because my problems were so overwhelming that I didn't actually want to hear their problems.
Total sense. And I also wonder, and I don't know, this is a question for you, Phyllis, or Jamie, or Carrie, or Maddie. It's like sometimes, because I noticed this with someone in my life, it's almost like when you're honest, it makes it more real, right? It's like, oh, like for instance, someone I know is a hoarder. And it's like, to be honest about the mess is to recognize the vast journey between like being in that hoarding, messy kind of rundown home and being able to move into a new apartment, which they could do, but they can't. So the honesty it's almost like the honesty is like, let's just draw the drapes. Let's open, I guess drawing is closing them, but let's open the drapes. And then we see, because honesty then sheds the light. And then we realize, oh, if I'm going to move, I'm going to have to clean out all these junk food bags, and I'm going to have to get rid of the zillions of books and zillions of clothes and whatever else might be in there, just general stuff. So it's like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this gets very real, and now we have to look at it. And then in your case, Phyllis, though, you're honest, and then people would just give you unsolicited advice, which it makes sense that you didn't want. Who wants unsolicited advice? So I don't know, is that true? Does honesty make things more real? Like, because when we're not honest with ourselves, in a way, we might be kind of, hiding from the truth, which might make sense at the time because it's too painful to actually really sit in it. Does anybody what's that like?
Honesty with myself is a different subject
Mm-hmm.
than honesty with others, because honesty with myself is a constant challenge and activity, whereas honesty with others only comes up in circumstances. Honesty with myself is something that I have to live with. And explore and analyze all the time.
Mm. What makes it challenging to be honest with yourself?
Consequences.
Mm.
If I'm honest with myself about something, it changes the consequences. I have to deal with it. I have to suffer it, or I have to address it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do something about it. And I'm experiencing that challenge right now because, and I guess I was with the boys too. It was like for a while I was in denial of what was happening to them, because if I was honest about it, then I had to make decisions. And that's what's happening now with the person that I'm caregiver for. I struggle with it.
Mm.
I choose to see things as good as I can see them so that I don't have to deal with the problem.
When you're honest, then you have to deal with the problem. You have to make
Right.
decisions. You have to take action. This is what I mean by like with the light is then shining on the situation.
Right.
Denial is oh yeah, I don't want to see that. I'm not going to see that. I'm not going to acknowledge that. And it has a place. There's a place and a time for denial. It's not like right or wrong. It's what's needed in the moment.
And there's where the self-care comes in.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not honest with what's happening to me because of what's happening to him, then it affects my self-care.
Mm.
And so that's when I choose to be honest with myself, because I can't take care of him if I'm not taking care of myself. That's why, as hard as it is to get up and go swimming, I do it anyway. I learned something about my swimming and my exercise that I didn't know before. The connective tissue that surrounds your muscles and your joints dries out when you get old. It also shrinks when you don't use it. So that's why, see, you guys that went to college or studied all this probably know this, but I never knew this. That connective tissue around the joints and the muscles, you just have to, that's why yoga is so good. You just have to move it to make it lubricated. And then the pain stops.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know all this.
Well, you know it now.
And I was doing the right thing. Good for me.
Good for you. So wonderful, Phyllis.
I was doing the right things, and now I know why it was the right thing. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
yeah, and if you're honest with yourself about what's going on with the person you're taking care of, then you know you need extra help, and then you procure the extra help, and then you have time to swim and exercise your body and lubricate the connective tissues. So there's a gift in being honest. Whereas if we're in denial, we might, in your case, be feeling really stiff because we're just in denial. Oh, it's not really happening. I don't really need help. Well, you do need help, and you do need to swim, and you do need to stretch. Someone said to me the other day, they said, she's a yoga teacher, and she said, we don't get old. We just need to stretch. It's like aging is basically not stretching. I mean, it's other things too. And one of the main things is people don't stretch. They don't move. They become really sedentary. And then they say, oh, it hurts. So they can't move. So it's a little bit of a, catch-22.
I love that everybody talks about this stuff now, because that's how I learn about it. And that thing that put me in the hospital to begin with, the PMR, resulted because wasn't moving. I wasn't swimming and I wasn't moving. And now I've overcome that because I went back to moving again.
Hallelujah.
So keep moving, you young people, because you can get things like lupus and PMR young, and moving will help you to not suffer from that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, arthritis,
Yeah.
which I've had all my life. Yeah. But I've been mobile all my life too. So,
And you're moving now, which is so good.
yeah.
Thank you, Phyllis. How about
So
you?
I shared some of the honesty things that I have to deal with. What are some of the honesty things that other people have to deal with?
Jamie, you want to jump in at all?
Oh, that's a not nice question, Phyllis. Yeah, honesty in and around Andrew.
Hmm.
I hold all of his medical in me. So currently, I'm the only one that knows everything that's going on with his most recent issues. And it's not healthy, but it's finding the right person to share up with. It's not that well, I'm a nurse, so I know that this stuff that he has is real. It's just finding people that will understand it. Like, not that my husband doesn't understand, but he's very much one of those people that's worry about it when it happens, worry about it when it gets here.
Hmm.
Sort of people in Andrew's recent diagnosis with arachnoiditis and the balancing between that and his seizures is not a wait for it to happen. It's actually you have to be proactive to keep things balanced. And so currently I hold all of that information like inside my body, my head, my actually you carry it everywhere, to be honest with you. You don't just carry it in like your brain as knowledge, you carry it in your heart. And you also stress throughout your body because you're holding on to all of that. So I don't know. I have to be honest with myself about who I can reach out to that's safe to talk about it. Because like Phyllis, I don't want the advice or I don't even want the poor you or poor Andrew.
Empathy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need that. I don't. Andrew is a very strong, happy, healthy, for the most part, kid. And so I often don't tell the school certain parts of what's going on because I don't want them treating him differently than they already do because of his disability. Does that make sense? Not really. But it does, but it doesn't, right? Like,
Well, as long as he's getting what he needs, you give them
Right.
enough information so he gets the care he needs, the attention.
right, right. So like he's only 17, he'll be 18 in May, but he already has osteoporosis. So he's already at a high risk for fractures of any type. But the school doesn't know that because then the school would handle him with what I call kid gloves. If Andrew wants to walk and wants to fall down, that's his prerogative. That's Andrew's right. You know what I mean? He's tube fed, so if he wants to sit down in the middle, well, within reason, in the middle of the parking lot and play with the rocks that are there, then so let him. Don't let him. I don't want them being afraid to let him experience life or his environment because of, that might cause harm somehow that they feel like they'd be liable for. Yeah.
Jamie, thank you for sharing,
Yeah.
because no, you really, I was looking at you and I couldn't remember any of your story or anything. And so it was like you're a stranger. But when you shared and told us these things, I feel a connection to you. I feel love for you and
Thank you.
support. Thank you for sharing.
Well, thank you for being a
And
safe place to stay, for sure.
and Andrew now, I feel his presence in the world. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's complex, right? Because you don't want them to treat him with kid gloves. And you do want him to be able to take his own risks. And it sounds like you're willing for that. You know,
Mhm.
he could fall and he could get a fracture. Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before, but when I was 7, I had one epileptic seizure, just one. Treatment at that time was phenobarbital. So
Ew.
my father was a doctor, and so I took phenobarbital for 7 years. That was, you adjust. I was drunk at 7 years old. I acted drunk until I adjusted. Took a couple of months, and I feel like the wisdom that both my parents practiced, and it was actually more my mother. My father was a doctor, so he was more aware. Yeah, you hate phenobarbital. Yeah, it was a pretty strong kind of drug. But they let me be a kid. They let me climb trees. They let me, and the reason I had to keep taking it was I had an abnormal EEG. Every year I'd go get it checked, and it would still be abnormal until it wasn't, and then I got off of it. But they didn't know that I wasn't going to have any more seizures.
Mhm.
But because they let me climb trees, play sports, do things, I became a person who was confident and athletic and unafraid of, doing things that kids do, So I think there is some wisdom in letting your rare child, I mean, I wasn't rare, I had just the one seizure. But I think that it's important to let people live, right? Because
Mhm.
otherwise, then they internalize a kind of fear, like, oh no, I have to be careful. Like this could happen. And then they're living in a very narrow bandwidth. So it's a both and though, right? Because it's great. You have your freedom, you have your confidence that your Andrew can develop and just have all these experiences, and there might be consequences. So
Yeah, I mean, he's had pathological fractures already, like in his incidental one. When he's in pain, he'll kick or he'll bite his hand because he's nonverbal, or he'll kick his chest with his foot. Well, he wears braces and he has heavy shoes, so he actually fractured a rib. He's had 3 non-displaced in his heel. He's had an ankle fracture. He's had another ankle fracture. So it's not like I don't know. To me, it's going to happen.
yeah.
And if he was out in his swing and he was having himself a good time and it accidentally happened, then at least he was enjoying life when it happened, because you can't stop it. Can't keep it from happening.
Right. Yeah.
I had a fracture in my back because I got upset putting shoes on my husband. And I got upset and angry with myself. So I jerked somehow and fractured my back. And when they told me I had osteoporosis and had had it for a long time, and nobody had told me in the past, and that I had to be careful of what I did, then I stopped doing things. I stopped helping him dress and stuff like that. It affects our relationship. And now I'm back to starting to help him get dressed and do those things, because if I'm going to have it happen, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if not doing that, it'll happen some other way anyway. So I now live life instead of being afraid all the time that I'm going to get another fracture.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's right relationship to helping, like how much can you do without actually really straining your body so that then you can't swim. So it's like you have to kind of walk that line. We say, walk the razor's edge. What's actually true. I want to live, I want to experience, I want to do things. And I also want to really notice that I have where are my limitations? Just bumping up against limitations, but we don't want to push through because the body doesn't like that. So I get though, it's like we have to engage, we have to live, we have to celebrate being alive, and we have to take care of ourselves both. So were there any other values that came up for you? With kindness and honesty.
But listening to you guys, it just is such a good reminder to me to like not live in fear, Like I feel like no one knows what tomorrow is going to bring, especially with your kiddos. And it's like it can cause a whole nother level of anxiety for you of like worrying so much, rather than just like,
Mhm.
what, we're just gonna see what today brings and see what good and see what bad and handle it, like as it is and as it's thrown out to us. Cause like I feel like sometimes for me when I get away, like thinking so much and so far into the future, it like brings a whole nother level of weight. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I worrying? Like we can't predict the future, like we can't. And like putting those thoughts in our mind, like it's almost like it changes our perspective for the negative because we're like, oh, if this doesn't happen, like, oh, I should have not like worried about it, and it's like it brings a whole nother level of weight. But I think like the way you guys tackle each day and like with your mindset is so healthy. And it's such a good reminder to like not worry about things.
Good for you for seeing that about fear, because fear was something that I had to master when my boys were diagnosed and when I was isolated, and I was afraid of everything. And I just at one point decided I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I just made that choice, that decision, like you did. So good. Yay. And that's how I got through their illnesses and their passing, was not being afraid.
Mhm. And Carrie's saying, I have to remember not to future trip, meaning don't worry about every little thing that the future may hold for us. Also, because as Maddie said, we don't know what the future, none of us knows what the future holds, either personally or globally, politically, etc. We don't know. So yeah, I think that that's something, future tripping is also called catastrophic thinking. So
Mhm.
if you catch yourself doing it, how do you know you're doing it? I'm curious, can anyone give me the hallmark or telltale signs of catastrophic thinking? Because I know we've all done it.
You're just stuck in that worry. Like you just can't get out of it. Like you're stuck in that what if, what if, what if, what if. Like you're just stuck there and you cannot get out. And it just gets worse. Like what if he trips and falls turns into what if he has that this week or right now, this day or whatever is what if he trips and falls turns into what if he has a fracture, turns into what if he gets an infection because he's in the hospital, what if he does this? It ends up in something really, really bad. Like what if all of this leads to something catastrophic like him passing away? Just I don't know if that's for anybody else, but yeah, I used to go there. I do not anymore. I don't. I do. I'm not gonna lie. I do get up in the middle of the night if I go to the bathroom. I do go check and make sure that he's all good and breathing and that because of SUDEP and his seizures. But I don't stay there. I don't stick myself there because I've listened to lots of stories of people who to do everything they possibly could, and when it came down to it, there's absolutely nothing. When that time comes, you can't stop it. It's a heart giving out. It's a livers. It's a whatever. and you can do everything right. You can do the seizure cam, the seizure pillow, the seizure safety bed, all meds always on time, never miss anything, and still you cannot stop. So yeah, but you have to choose to be there, right? Like you have to choose to not be there. It's a choice you have to make.
Described it very well. It's where one what if leads to the next, to the next, to the next,
Mhm.
and the eventuality of they could die. Well, guess what? We all will die, and we don't know when. And as Carrie said, there's nothing you can do. You can only do what you can do, make your best effort, be discerning, keep showing up. Like showing up is a value of mine. That I'm going to show up, I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. If I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be there. And if for some reason I can't, I'm going to communicate about it. And I'm going to do my best to give people enough notice. So it's like you can show up, and then life is going to do what it does. And that's where David White's talking about honesty as opening the doorway to the unknown. Because if we're honest, we don't know what's going to happen. We really don't. And we do know that we need to do certain things. It's obvious when certain things need to be done to care for the person, the rare child or the aging partner, that you just know what you need to do. And you do it to the best of your ability, and then surrender the outcome. You have to surrender the outcome, and it's so hard. And I think the worry or the anxiety that you brought in, Maddie, is trying to control the outcome. Like, I'll think it through, I'll figure out, I'll like ferret out every little detail, and I'll know the right things, and I'll take all the precautions, but it's still going to be what it's going to be.
So Maddie, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because she's describing me probably up to probably a year ago. That was me. I was like, only I can give Andrew his medicine. Only I can do this. Only I can take care of this. And if I trust anybody else with it, then I'm going to have to deal with that after the fact if it's not done the way it should be. And you can't. I don't know. Yeah, you can get stuck there and then you can head down that rabbit hole a really long ways.
It's amazing when you like almost like I'm gonna use the word surrender, but like you're just like, I'm Christian and like I'm just like it's in God's hands, like it's in whoever's hands out there, like there's literally nothing I can do to change this outcome except like be you and be in the situation. And that's like a huge issue of mine is like control, depending on the circumstance, because like how capable you are and you're gonna give him 1,010% of you and being mom and like love on him. And you're just like, it's hard to trust people for sure, especially in your situation, and it's your child's life at the end of the day. And yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, but for me too.
Like you said, it's in God's hands, it's in the hands of the universe, great spirit, call it what you will. It's like we can do everything we can do. And we all have a timing of when we enter this dimension and when we leave this earthly dimension. And we don't know when. And so surrender is a really good idea. Surrender and like live large, play full out. Let Andrew play in the parking lot or go on a swing, even though there's a risk. Right? Help out with your aging partner. Do the things. And why? Because we're here now. And we can. At least we know we seem to have today. That's my prayer, is that we have today and many more todays to come, and we don't know. It's the reality of the situation. And in a way, it's like it's freeing. It's both terrifying and freeing at the same time. To trust, to surrender that we are not in control. Even though we can pedal as fast as we can to try and make things just so. Can only do what we can do. And then we have to trust. I mean, we don't have to, and it would be wise.
they have a new thing for the residents here. It's a separate thing. It's a group. It's intellectual. They have a different agenda. And I'm mentioning this, Jamie, because I decided not to go to it because I would be one of the old intellectuals there. And I decided to go to it. I'm going to go to it because I don't have to say anything. I can just listen and learn. And we'll see how it goes, because it may happen that I do participate. Who knows? I'm just going to be open. In addition to overcoming fear, my other thing was, no, it wasn't then. My other thing now is being open and letting other people share their stories. And it'll be interesting because they started a journaling class, which I'm an expert on journaling, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, right. Okay.
You're a very good writer, Phyllis.
I ended up learning from the other people in the class, and I ended up writing something that I had not written before. So being open is might be one of the solutions to being. I'm just talking about me. I'm not talking about anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
To being that I know this, I know that, I know it all,
Mm.
and seeing what I can learn.
Mm. That's so beautiful. Not knowing is being open. Not knowing is being willing to learn and willing to see possibilities and solutions that we weren't aware of. And if we're busy trying to control, we won't see. It's like when you're open, this is a beautiful note to close on, to complete, is it's like we're open so we can have insights, we can have epiphanies, magic can show up, a new writing can show up, a new friend can show up, a new possibility for your rare child can show up. So I will leave us with that. Thank you, Phyllis, for that. Openness, curiosity, open to possibility. Well, so good to be with you all today. And if anybody wants to come tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I don't know if you can make it this month, Jamie, we have our monthly meeting tomorrow at 6. So if anybody can come, that would be great. I would love to see you.
It's really 9 o'clock right here. Wait,
Sorry, Jamie.
That's 9 o'clock on the East Coast.
It is 9 o'clock on the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow evening. All right. So good to be with you. Thank you.